episode of Just an Afterthought. I am your host, Bree Valentina, aka Jane Foster's research assistant.
I love that. And I am also your host, Jimmy Smalls, aka a Hubble telescope.
A Hubble telescope. That's yes, right.
I can see a lot of space.
Oh. That'd be a like a good pickup line.
Wait, what?
Like that'd be a good pickup line.
Right? Like, oh, are you a Hubble telescope? Because I feel like you can see everything. I don't know. We'll work. I'll work on
you
the
gotta workshop
line,
it a little bit, yeah.
It's just the beginning phases of
it's just the foundation of it, of the greatest pickup line to ever exist, and it all started from Thor. And boom.
I got it. Okay, wait. I think I got it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hey, you know they call me a Hubble telescope because I can see you and me for infinity. Eh? No, that needs work. Good. I think it still needs work. I'll figure it out.
I was thinking they're like, hey, you know my nickname is a telescope because I can see this space between you and me, or something dumb like that.
I like that. I think we're getting on the right track. I think
we are. We're getting there. We're almost there. It just needs a little work. We'll figure it out. We'll hammer it out. Okay. Oh,
I see you.
The puns are coming. Oh my goodness. How have you been, by the way?
I'm not gonna lie. I've had better days. This last week was very trying.
Yeah.
And for those who, most people should know by now. By the time this comes out, it'd already have been a thing.
It'd be like a month by the time this comes out.
It'd been a long month, but
yeah.
Chadwick Boseman's death really, really affected me. Like, I was already having kind of a stressful week, but I feel like that was a really just gigantic cherry on top of a small cake, you know? Like, it put me in a place where I was kind of like, okay, it's time to take a step back, go through all my emotions, go through all this stuff, you know, just think about where I'm at and where I'm going and where I'm trying to be. And I took a lot of the weekend to just think about that. And I feel like death does that, but it's just so crazy because I didn't know this man, you know, like I didn't know him personally, but the roles that he's played and the figure that he is in pop culture, and especially for the Black community, was just so grand and so big. And, you know, to find out after his passing of his illness, you know, of this disease that he had, and just thinking about how long he fought through it, and the characters and the roles and some of the role models in history that he brought back to life was just, it was also motivating. It was just like, wow, sure. Okay, he did this. So he did all this while being sick. What can I do? What can I do to further not only myself, but my community and my friends and my family? What can I do to become better?
Yeah.
And it was even in death, you know, you can inspire people and you can touch lives. And he is someone who definitely spoke to a lot of people, and he will be greatly missed. And, you know, I want to do my part now, which I've always, you know, which is something that I feel like everyone wants to do. But this definitely inspired me to push further.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
sure. I mean,
I was going to say, how about you? How are you? And where are you with everything?
You know, I'm good. It was crazy to me because I found out about his passing at work. And I couldn't believe it. Like, it just didn't seem it didn't seem like real to me.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, that's how I felt too. Speaking of legends, like when Kobe Bryant passed away, like I'm a big sports fan. I'm a big movie fan, but I'm also a big sports fan. And
yeah.
I remember hearing, you know, the news that like Kobe had passed, and I was like, no, that's not a funny joke. Like, don't joke like that. And it was like, no, he did. Like he passed away, and you always kind of expect these people to, you know, live for quite some time. You know, I know a lot of people in the sports.
There.
Yeah, a lot of people in the sports community were expecting Kobe to be one of those, just like Shaq. Shaq is like a in-game reporter. And I think a lot of people were expecting, you know, that of Kobe and, you know, and his daughter as well to become a great basketball player. I mean, she already was, but to become an even better one. And, you know, it's one of those, I was in shock, like for both Chadwick and with Kobe, I was in shock. Because you expected so much more greatness from them, and you expected you couldn't wait to see what else they were going to put out and what else they were going to do and who else they were going to inspire. I mean, for me, it started with Kobe. Like he really was, in my opinion, one of the greatest basketball players. He really gave 110% effort in everything he did. And same thing with Chadwick. You know, he gave 110%. I mean, he was battling cancer, and he was being the Black Panther, and he was putting out all of these great movies while also battling cancer himself, and helping, you know, kids with cancer too, and visiting them and inspiring them to keep fighting. And so, you know, it's just insane to me that he's no longer here.
Yeah.
And I expected to see so much more from him, and just, you know, I couldn't wait. And it's unfortunate now that, you know, we'll never get to see it. But I think on the flip side is the legacy that both of them have left behind, which is very inspiring. You know, it's to keep at it and keep pushing towards your dreams and don't give up. And I think a lot of it too is just focus on doing the best that you can, and don't let others, like, just focus on working on yourself, I think too, and being a better person and helping your community and helping make the community a better place. I think both of them kind of showed that in their own lives and have inspired that in others. And to honor, the best way to honor them is to do that yourself, and to better yourself, and to always give back and always strive to help make the world a better place.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. But, it was very unfortunate to hear of his passing. And it was like a shock. It was a big, like, I remember I was working and I stood there at the check lane going, Are you kidding me? This happened? Like, I couldn't believe it. And I stood there like shocked for, like, I was helping out guests, helping out customers. And I couldn't fully interact with them because my mind was still wrapping around the fact that this had happened.
Yeah.
And, but, in terms too, I think with the future of Marvel and the Black Panther, I think that if they continue with the movies, I think that the role of Black Panther should go to Shuri.
I do definitely agree. 100%.
And because she seems the most fit for it.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that. I know in the comics she becomes the Black Panther for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But to continue that legacy too would be amazing, to have Shuri as the Black Panther. And we'll talk more about it too, I think, when we get to Black Panther.
Most definitely. I wanted to I know you're 100% okay with this, most likely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I definitely wanted to have, like, that episode be a memorial episode where we just talk 100% about everything and, like, the future of Black Panther and
Yeah, we talk about the movie. We talk about, just the future of it, and I think that's a very fitting episode.
Yeah.
But I feel, it's very. We'll briefly talk about it now, just because it's current as we're recording.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 100% agree. But let's move on. Let's move on to the topic of the day. The movie that we watched. Not to disregard anything that we've said
of course
prior to it, but just to try to kind of jump into what we're here to talk about, and that's Thor. On our journey.
The God of Thunder.
The God of Thunder, Thor. So, Thor is a 2011 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. And then he's also based off of the Nordic god of thunder, Thor, but, it's like mixed in.
Yeah.
And the movie was produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Paramount Pictures. It is the fourth film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was directed by Kenneth Branagh? Branagh? Oh, gosh darn it.
It's all good. It's a weird last name.
Side note, before we started recording, I kept having to say it, and I was like, I hope I don't mess up. And then I messed it up. I apologize.
No worries.
The movie was written by the writing team of Ashley Edward Miller and Zach Stentz, along with Don Payne. And then it stars Chris Hemsworth as the title character of Thor, alongside Natalie Portman, Tom Hiddleston, Stellan Skarsgård, Colm Feore, Ray Stevenson, Idris Elba, Kat Dennings, Rene Russo, and Anthony Hopkins. And then a summary of the movie, quick summary. So basically, Thor is after reigniting a dormant war, Thor is banished from Asgard to Earth, stripped of his powers and his hammer, Mjolnir? Is that right?
Mjolnir? Mjolnir. Like, some of the letters are silent.
Oh, well, oops. Well, he's stripped of his powers and his hammer.
We can just call him Mew Mew, as Darcy would say.
So stripped of his powers and his hammer, as his brother Loki plots to take the Asgardian throne, Thor must prove himself worthy. So that's what the movie's about. Some facts. Let's jump into it. Some facts. I'm gonna be honest. This movie didn't have a lot of facts that really, personally, I thought were interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just was. We'll get into it when we give our opinions on the movie, I'll tell you exactly how I really felt. It has changed from previous episodes where I have kind of bashed on Thor, but we'll talk about. We'll get into it. But here are my facts. I only have 3. So according to the director, the closing credits sequence was based on images from the Hubble Space Telescope and took 18 months to create. I thought that was interesting because a lot of the movie is set in space, and I really appreciated the CGI, and I really liked the fact that they kept that for the end credits instead of making it like comic book themed, or it really stuck with the theming of the movie. So I really appreciated that. Sir Anthony Hopkins signed on as Odin, despite never having read a Thor comic, nor knowing anything about the Thor mythology. It was the concept of the father and son relationship that intrigued him about the role. So I was like, wow, okay. So he just appreciated what these characters, like their relationship, more so than it was like about a comic book role, or
he's just like, I just want to be Thor's daddy.
Yeah, he's like, I like this character. I like the relationships, the complexities of it. Boom. Yeah. I feel like too, why I thought that was so interesting is a lot of people will go like, comic book movie? Nah, I don't think so. And he's just like, oh no, great relationship dynamics. or not great, but, interesting relationship dynamics. Boom, sign me up,
Count me in.
Count me in. And then last fact. So according to the director, Odin runs the Marvel Universe. It was Odin who hid away the Tesseract in Captain America, the First Avenger, which we've already seen, and in Infinity Gauntlet in The Avengers, which is the movie that we see next week. So
I believe that.
I thought that was cool. I was like, Odin is... I don't want to say... He's like a god. He's like the godlike figure, like a Zeus, sort of. Well, he is like the Zeus for the... But like the kind of watcher of all, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. That he runs the Marvel Universe. So, if he runs the Marvel Universe, why didn't he stop Thanos?
Well, by that time he was dead.
Well, I don't remember that, so spoiler alert.
Spoilers!
Whoops!
We'll talk about that again in Thor 3.
Yeah, Thor 3. Oof. Okay. What are your facts? Do you have any facts about the movie?
I do. I have a couple. Just a couple.
Okay.
My first is that the producers and part of the original script, they wanted a character who was named Amor the Enchantress, which is kind of like a bad guy / sort of love interest of Thor. They wanted her to appear in the movie. And... we were kind of talking about this while watching the movie, and we'll kind of get back to it. But, like, it didn't make sense for me that, like, Loki figured out a way to, like, kind of do some of the things that he did. And in the comics, she actually is a teacher of Loki's. And, like, teaches him, like, magic and, like, kind of shows him how to, like, do, like, a lot of the, like, tricks that he does. And that's why he's later on known as the Trickster, at least in the comics. So I was just kind of like, I would have loved to see her. I was always kind of waiting for her, and we never really got her fully. And that's another conversation for Thor 3, I think. But I would have loved to see her in this movie. I think there was already a lot going on, but I would have taken out some things to added her in. I think it would have been important.
Yeah. That would have been interesting to see. I can't remember... Because I don't they explain in the later movies how he kind of learned to do it? Yeah. Like learned magic, so it would have been interesting to see, to see it in this movie. Yeah. Because I think this technically...
I think they just kind of pass it up to like, oh, well, his mother taught him because his mother also knows magic. And this is canon for like most things. Yeah. But he learns a little more from her. So it would have been nice to see her.
Yeah. I mean, well, what I was going to say too is like, this is really Thor's... What is the word I'm looking for? It's his like setup movie, right? It's his like
introduction. Debut. It's his introduction.
So it would have been nice to see, kind of more, a little bit more backstory. A lot of people know Thor as, the god of thunder from Nordic mythology. But it would have been interesting to see the Marvel take on it a little bit. They do briefly kind of go over Loki's backstory, but yeah, I don't know. There was a lot in this movie that I wish would have happened and it didn't. So
yeah. My other fact, which I thought was interesting that I didn't know, which I should have figured, and I thought it would have been really cool, but it's a little late. Jim Carrey has been not only a fan favorite, but a Marvel favorite to play Loki since, like, The Mask, when he did The Mask in 94. Yeah. And, he did do another comic book movie in the 90s that we might have to get to one day.
One of my favorite franchise, one of my favorite superheroes.
Honestly?
Not favorite franchise, but my favorite superhero.
Yeah, Batman. Like, I love the Batman like movies for what they were. Yeah. But I thought it would have been really interesting for him to play Loki. I would have loved to see some kind of iteration of that. But I think they did a pretty good job with Tom Hiddleston. I think he brought nuance that probably Jim Carrey... It would have been different. It definitely would have been different.
We've seen Jim Carrey play more serious roles.
Yeah, no, he's definitely played serious roles.
But I don't think that this would have fit him. This specific style would have fit him.
The theming of this movie. Yeah, definitely.
Especially too, because, you know, obviously this is jumping ahead, but like Loki does play a somewhat important role in these movies. Mm-hmm. And so like, I don't know how a Jim Carrey version of Loki would have, I could see it happening, but it wouldn't feel as natural as maybe somebody like Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston. So, but I heard, and this might just be somebody giving me the wrong information. And I could easily look it up, but I refuse. That The Mask is technically a Marvel comic.
I think you're right. I think Marvel did do.
I'm gonna look. Now I'm gonna look this up. Now we're gonna find this.
We're here.
Yes.
We're already here.
Okay, so I'm gonna look this up.
Okay.
So yeah, it is a comic book series. Oh, Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, that's DC.
Yeah. So it's not, but. So somebody lied to me, or they misheard their okay, so that's what it was. He pitched, one of the people who created the comic pitched the concept to Marvel.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of, maybe like a, I don't know, but it's more DC, so it is more DC. But he pitched it to
okay.
Marvel. But yeah, I think. The way that they have Loki, I couldn't imagine somebody like Jim Carrey. But I could see him like, I honestly though, if they did another Batman movie with the Riddler, I could see him in it being a little bit more serious, but also adding that little bit of goofiness to it. Mm-hmm. Because the Riddler is kind of a goofier character. Because he's a villain that works in riddles. Like, it's pretty goofy.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to be.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit. But I think, too, this is going into more DC. Or moving a little bit away. But, like, they had the Riddler in Gotham, the TV show. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of an interesting take. So just to have like a combination of the two, like Jim Carrey and like that sort of Riddler, I think would be interesting as well. But anyway. Yeah. Anyway, let's move into our opinion on the movie.
Yes, let us. I was just thinking about lettuce.
Wow. Sorry.
You're good. I love it.
I started laughing about lettuce. Lettuce. So the movie. Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. The movie. As has been stated in previous episodes, I did not care for the movie the first time around.
Yeah.
Have not seen it since I watched it in theaters the first time around. Coming back to it with what like we have with all the other movies that we've seen, or that I've seen, and then coming back to it for this, I enjoyed it more than I did the first time around. Mostly because of the references and the like to leading back to, I can make theories about, oh, maybe this happened because of something from a previous movie, or like to see the connecting stories kind of in this one. But the movie, for the most part, for me at least, it fell flat. It felt, you had mentioned this, that it was like that connecting movie to set up for Avengers, instead of it being its own take on the character, and then leading up to, and then, okay, here's Thor, he's his own thing, and at the end, having that moment with Fury being like, hey, you want to be a part of the Avengers? Like, I don't know. It just wasn't, I left the movie with a lot of questions. Like, if he's in Avengers, how does he get back to Earth? Because spoiler alert, he broke the bridge. So how does he get back here? Like, why is Loki controlling the doctor guy at the end? The end credits scene is like just all, I don't know. It left me with all these questions, and I was like, I don't want to wait for another movie for these questions to be answered.
Yeah.
Like, if this is Thor's movie, I feel like you should answer these questions in Thor's movie, and then, I don't know, maybe you could reference them again in Avengers if it ties in with the other characters.
Yeah.
And then clarify maybe any crossing wires with other characters in Avengers. But, like, I don't know, don't leave Thor hanging. Like, finish, like, I don't know.
Don't yank my chain, man.
Yeah, I feel like they did Thor dirty. He didn't have any eyebrows. He just, I don't know. They did Thor dirty in this movie. It could have been much better. Much better. It wasn't boring enough that I wanted to fall asleep like the first time. I actually was interested in what was going on, but it fell flat in so many ways. The end fight scene fell flat. His Disney first kiss moment fell flat. There were a lot of cliches in this movie that it just was like, it ruined it for me, because it was like, to some extent, because it was like, oh, he's going to scream in the rain. And then 5 seconds later, he screams in the rain. Like, so yeah. But there were a few things that I liked. I liked seeing Agent Coulson on screen, because it was like, oh, cool, it does connect. We saw him at the end of Iron Man 2, and here he is. And, like, that was cool to see that connection. Yeah. And I liked seeing Hawkeye for the first time, because he wasn't somebody that I remember being in the movie.
He had the, like, small, it was just so tiny, like.
It was so tiny, but it was like, oh, cool. So it shows that, like, both Natasha and Clint have been around for a while. Like, they didn't just, because for me, too, I didn't remember Black Widow in Iron Man 2. Mm-hmm. I just, like, when I got to Avengers, I didn't remember her in Iron Man 2. And I didn't remember Hawkeye being in Thor. So now going back, it's like, oh, cool. They're there. They've been there kind of since the beginning, and they've already slowly a little bit have gotten their introduction, even though for Clint, unfortunately, it was very, very small introduction.
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie was just all right. Could have been much better, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was from the beginning. So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Oh boy. Alrighty. Buckle up.
Okay.
So
click.
From the get, like, kind of how you were saying, there's a lot of cliches. Like, when Jane hits him with her car, I was expecting the whole, like, voiceover, well, I bet you're wondering how I got here, and da-da-da-da,
yeah, with the 80s music, like, behind. This is me. I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Like, we had to wait 2 more movies for that, because they kind of do that in Ragnarok. But, like,
yeah,
it was cheesy from the get, and there was times where, like, that was nice and it was cute, or it was like the dramatics were kind of kept you going, kept you like wanting to see a little more. But there was a lot of times where you're just kind of like, no, this isn't a fit. This isn't this ain't it. So
yeah, sorry, to add on with the car thing as a cliche, I was like, oh, I bet she's going to hit him again with her car after they left the hospital. And then 5 seconds later, she hit him again with her car. And I remember telling you, like, I told you, she's going to hit him again.
Yeah, I was waiting for, like, a third one, because, comedy comes in threes. I was waiting for the third, and it never happened. Yeah. So I'm just like, well, then now you're just failing us, like, altogether. Yeah.
I thought, like, she was going to forget to put the van in brake when she takes him to the facility or whatever, and then the car was slowly going to hit him, like a Home Alone kind of moment, where, like, it's, like, accidental comedy, and then boom, so. Yeah.
But... it has sucked because the scenery was beautiful. Like, they invested a lot of the CGI into, the space and, you know, Asgard and all this stuff and like the realms, like, which was it was pretty, but the story didn't align with that. I think you know, I think they were trying to go for like the shape. Each Marvel movie has kind of like its core like genre, like theme that it tries to follow. And I think for this one, you know, hiring Kenneth Branagh to do this movie, I think they're kind of going for like the Shakespearean, almost like pageantry.
Yeah,
what's it?
It felt very much like a Hamlet sort
like,
of. You betrayed
like
me, brother. Like,
or like an Emily Dickinson like book like brought to life. You know what I mean? And it's very dramatic, and it just the connections just didn't hit. It was they missed, and like, and I feel like after investing all that time and money into, you know, the CGI for half of the movie, maybe even a little more, to be stuck in New Mexico, like, you're just like, damn, they really, the budget did not just go, I feel like the budget didn't like pan out evenly.
I feel like I feel like they chose New Mexico because it's I guess their motto is the land of enchantment. And they talk about it too in Iron Man 2. And I feel like they're like, oh, haha, wouldn't it be funny? Because it's Thor and he's a mythical god and he lands in the land of enchantment. But like, this is going to be mean, but New Mexico kind of seemed like a boring state from what we saw in the movie. Yeah. So they only had fun digging out a hammer out of a pit. So that was like their weekly fun. So I don't know why they chose it. It just didn't seem like it, like you said, it didn't seem like it fit anything else for the movie. Yeah.
You know, and like the few things that I did like and appreciate, they were almost like one and dones. Like, yeah, you know, I love the theme. And like I like this movie for the same reason, you know, you're talking about with Sir Anthony Hopkins, where like I love the dynamic of this god, this literally the god of everything, this all father, quote unquote, having to raise two boys to become men. And the difficulties of being a parent, like, you know, it kind of humanizes these all powerful beings, and you kind of see that like everyone and everything is flawed. Like the concepts that we've come to know can change. And it's unfortunate that, you know, and I think the Thor movies kind of have that storyline throughout, which is really nice. But I feel like it wasn't really fully recognized until Thor's last movie. So I think also that's why people kind of resonate more with Loki than Thor. I think Loki's story is a little more realistic in
it's more relatable.
Yeah, and like, you know, dealing with like a family unit and feeling,
or like sibling rivalry, or feeling like inadequate in your own family.
Feeling so troubled and feeling so out of place. I think that hits a lot with a lot more people than with Thor trying to learn what it means to be worthy, which is also a really great theme as well. Like it really is. But, you know, I think on top of trying to make a coherent story about, you know, this god of thunder, it got a little lost in translation. And then you just are distracted because they really did do him dirty. And I feel personally like this was Einstein-Rosen bridge to Avengers. It was it was the only way to make all these stories that they've told so far. I mean, Captain America came next, but, you know, I feel like this was the plan to connect all these characters, and it kind of leaves a lot to the imagination when it shouldn't have. Like they should have focused on Thor a little more. And I think people would have been a little more receptive to his movie, and they wouldn't have had to struggle so much later on with the Avengers and his other movies trying to bring more kind of relation back to him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, too. Yeah, I mean, you know, what's funny too is if you look at the order of the movies and the way that they were released, right? Technically, Captain America is next, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't understand why Thor has to be that one that automatically jumps. I guess timeline wise, it automatically jumps next to Avengers, but I don't know why it had to fall on Thor. It could have been that end credit scene moment where that connection could have happened.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing the whole movie on really rushing through the story to get to Avengers, because the next movie isn't even Avengers. It's Captain America and then Avengers.
Yeah.
So, and Captain America, like you would think that with Captain America being the next, that would have kind of, I mean, I guess they did too. They rushed through Captain America to get to Avengers as well, because we talked about it in Captain America. The whole movie felt rushed. I mean, just to kind of set up his backstory, the whole thing felt rushed instead of just focusing on the character itself, and then having it all interconnect at the very end, like it did, for the end credit scene. Like, why have an end credit scene that connects them if you're gonna just do it the whole movie? That doesn't make any sense. So, hopefully, with the future movies, it changes. And because I can't remember, but like hopefully we'll see that change where they do focus more on the character than on, because that was the great thing about Iron Man, was that it focused on Iron Man, and then at the end you see Nick Fury and he's like, hey, I got a team, you want to join?
Hey man, you want to start a band?
yeah, but like that's what I liked, and I think that's why I appreciate that movie more, and why I enjoy it more, is because it focused on Iron Man, and how he became Iron Man, and just Iron Man, not like, okay, Iron Man, that's great and all, you want to join the Avengers, but let's also focus on you, but also let's try and push the story to Avengers, like it was all Iron Man, and then at the very end, like it should have been, like the end credits scene should be there for, is like, hey, this is how the movie's going to connect. Yeah. Because we have a team that we want you to join. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it, though. I think that's what. Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is, Like,
yeah. We can't go back and change it, but.
We've been saying this for, weeks now, but, like, these characters were rough. Like, these were some rough, like, characters to try to put together when they really weren't fan favorites anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it was leaning more now towards DC, I think, at that point, too. Because we had the Dark Knight trilogy and things like that.
Yeah, the Chris Nolan movies. It was. There was so much to do. So. Yeah. I definitely have a full list of just things that were kind of like, I felt were weird or off, and like it's nitpicky, but it was a lot. And that, that adds up.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point too. I think with these movies, they were trying to, because what I liked about the Dark Knight trilogy was the fact that, yes, we've seen how Bruce Wayne becomes Batman like a million times. Everyone knows the story. Parents shot in an alleyway. He can't process, or he processes it and turns it into being Batman. And every single person knows that story. And what I liked about it was that the first movie really did focus on him. And maybe we'll watch the Dark Knight trilogy, but like the first movie really did focus on him becoming Batman. Yeah. And then it was like, it was an overarching story over 3 movies of like, becoming Batman, dealing with the struggles of being Batman, and then what happens, the downfall, like what happens to a character after it all. So that's what.
Yeah, it's funny. I just had this conversation a couple days ago with a friend, and I'm not a big DC fan. We already discussed this. Yeah. I'm also not a big Batman fan. Yeah. I honestly only like Batman for the sidekicks and the villains.
Oh yeah, I love Jason Todd. He's probably one of my favorites.
And I might get a lot of gripe for this, but like I don't see the appeal of Batman / Bruce Wayne in general. Yeah. But I do love how Christopher Nolan took the psychology of Batman and implemented that in a more noir, classic kind of
more realistic
film where you go through the psychosis of Bruce Wayne. Yeah. I've said this and I'll always say this, and I mean it. You know, Christian Bale was a great Bruce Wayne. Yeah. He wasn't necessarily a good Batman. Yeah. But he was astounding Bruce Wayne. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think because Christopher Nolan and him took the time to really analyze who Bruce Wayne was and how that kind of cast the shadow and personified Batman. Mm-hmm. But there is a duality, like, you know, with all these characters, like Superman, Spider-Man, you know, Batman. There's a duality that you have to play to, I feel like, have a good superhero movie. Yeah. And I honestly wouldn't consider, for the most part, the Dark Knight trilogy a superhero movie. And I think when DC has this kind of mindset towards their films, that's why their films do so great. Because they look at the different side of human beings and how they perceive themselves in the world. Yeah. And though, like I said, the trilogy's great, it's different. Yeah.
I think DC also has a great cast of characters. I'm tired of seeing constantly Batman, constantly Superman, the Joker. Like, I would like to see who I kind of call the Bucky Barnes of the DC universe is Jason Todd. Because Bucky Barnes, at least in my opinion, is kind of like an anti-hero, right? Especially because he turns into like the Winter Soldier and he's got like... Yeah. Where Jason Todd is kind of the same way. To me, he's an anti-hero. He is this figure that gets kidnapped by the Joker, dies, or is led to believe that he's dead. I think he does technically die. Then he gets revived. Then he becomes, at least in the games, he became the Arkham Knight. I don't know if he becomes Red Hood and then ends up fighting alongside Batman later. But like, I would like movies more focused on like characters like that, at least in my opinion, and the struggle of being an anti-hero, because I think they're interesting. I think they struggle a lot more than characters, I guess, like Batman or Iron Man, who are rich and their problems are because they're rich, right? Yeah. You know, that struggle of like, I've had kind of a shitty life and everyone, you know, now, like, I have the chance to become a hero, but also too, like, I think what I like about anti-heroes is not everything in life is black and white, and there are some gray areas, and anti-heroes know that, you know. Batman doesn't kill. I don't know about Iron Man. I don't know about if any of the Avengers have a rule where they don't kill. For the most part, it doesn't seem like anybody really kills anybody.
If there probably are a few, I just can't think of them at the moment.
Yeah, with the exception of like Thanos, they killed Thanos, but like
I think Punisher like doesn't kill like women and children.
Yeah, and, like, or Deadpool kills. He's an assassin, but like everyone is like we have this high ethic code. You know, we turn you in, like we're gonna turn you in, and we're not gonna, you know, we hope you learn your lesson. Whereas like sometimes like these antiheroes are like, you're not gonna learn your lesson. I already know you're not gonna learn your lesson. Like, yeah, it's probably easier just to deal with you myself, you know.
And I think it's so funny you say that because it kind of brings me back to Thor and the character of Loki. Yeah. I feel like though what Loki did, you know, in a lot of these movies is bad. His intentions are in the realm of trying to be the hero. You know, he wanted to prove to his family that he had the right to rule. He wanted to prove to his brother that they were equals. You know, he wanted to prove to his father that he could sit on the throne. Yeah. And when I think at the end of the movie, when he realizes like they're never going to see what I see, they're never going to see things the way that I see them, he lets go. Yeah. quite literally.
Literally, yeah.
He lets go, and he's not afraid to fall into that darkness, which is very interesting. You know, I may not necessarily agree with that viewpoint, but it's a very appealing. It's a very appealing ideal to. Okay, well, what if I really just embrace what everyone already thinks of me, and I do it for myself?
Yeah.
And where does that take you? And you know, well, I think we're definitely gonna have this conversation, you know, after watching the Thor movies and seeing Loki more. But
yeah,
I cheer for Loki throughout this whole Marvel run, because it dives into those ideals of like what happens when you lose everything that you ever wanted or ever thought you could have, and you think you're alone, and you have to face the universe.
Yeah, you have to make your own name for yourself now. Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. And,
you
know, out of all the things to come out of this, I'm glad Loki did. I think that not only raised the character of Loki for comic book fans in general, you know, after Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki, so many more people, you know, kind of flocked to his stories, and he had comic book releases after that. He had runs where it was just him. He was on a lot of different teams. He kind of became that anti-hero / good guy where he tried to change, and he wanted to be better. And I think that's really special. I think out of everything, Tom Hiddleston is the best thing to come out of this franchise, because he took the time. He took the time to really. And I mean, so don't get me wrong. So did Chris Hemsworth, but I think Tom Hiddleston did it in a way that's just so.
He really became Loki in a sense.
Yeah.
Like he really devoted his time to really understand the character.
Yeah, it was really nice. I think it took a little longer for Thor and Chris Hemsworth and Marvel execs to figure it out. But I think Tom Hiddleston just already knew what he wanted to do with it. And it's so funny because he auditioned to be Thor in the first place. Like, I think Tom Hiddleston's career is better for it. And it just goes to show once again, like how we were talking about with Coulson, when it's not about the small roles, it's not about the lesser roles, it's what you do with it. It's what you
do with it. Yeah, absolutely.
It is what you do with it.
Yeah, and I think going back, Loki to me always, because this movie, my first opinion was that it was bleh, wasn't that great. I always saw Loki as just this like very smart character, but kind of cocky, sort of person. Like, I'm cocky because I'm smart and I think I'm better than all of you. But going back, I could really understand why people love Loki so much, and why they were, and I found myself relating to him at times, and the struggles that he had, and like I appreciate Loki as a character now, and I just like you now, I root for him going forward, because you really, and maybe it's too because it's a difference in a perspective from being a kid versus now being an adult, of seeing all that, but like, I really found myself relating to Loki and like really just understanding the character, and I was like, I can understand why he becomes this evil guy, because he's felt neglected. He's like the black sheep of the family. He doesn't feel like he belongs, and I could understand now why he's such a fan favorite, is because he is in his own way relatable, because everyone has felt that certain way, maybe not the exact same way, or they felt the same things in their own lives. But yeah, that's why I like anti-heroes. I feel like they're more relatable.
They really are.
Like I said, because not everything's black and white. There are gray moments, and with a hero, when they get to those gray moments, it's like, no, I'm going to choose to still see things as black and white. Whereas they're like, I feel like with anti-heroes, they're like, I'm going to choose to, how do I go forward knowing that I can't, there are gray moments, and how do I, it's like a struggle, it's not like always having to if I take the high road, you know, how does that affect others? And like, how does that affect me? I don't know. They're just more relatable, I think.
They really are.
That's why I wish we had more movies about anti-heroes.
I think it's becoming more of the norm now. I think it took a while.
Like with Harley Quinn, too. Harley Quinn is kind of now become an anti-hero because she originally was a villain and in the comics. Her first appearance was in the animated series, but, you know, she was... Her only attribute was that she was in love with the Joker, and now she's become more of an anti-hero. And I think even more so... woman. Yeah, even more so, too, with Margot Robbie's portrayal of her. Because, you know, she was becoming that way in the comics, and then with Suicide Squad, they really kind of, like, boosted that image of her. So I really, you know, I wish there were, too, like, more kind of, because Harley Quinn is, like, still a silly character. You know, I wish there were those grittier movies, like a Christopher Nolan-esque movie, about about like Jason Todd or about like Bucky Barnes. You know, I'd like to see them in that kind of setting rather than this really kind of light setting. I don't know. I feel like their tale is better told in a grittier way than in this lighthearted kind of. I don't want to say like real fun adventure because it's still, you know, heavy themes, but like it makes their story more light. Where it'd be interesting to see that real struggle. Yeah. So. Yeah, most definitely.
These are just the stories that we'll have to create.
Maybe, you know, Marvel, you should hire us. Hire me. Hire Jimmy and me, and we'll write it for you. We'll try at least. But yeah, isn't Loki coming out with his own thing?
He's getting a TV series, yeah.
TV series. I thought it was a movie.
I think they're filming it. I think they're still filming it. I don't know if they're quite done yet.
Well, with COVID, they probably put it on hold. Yeah. 'Cause I know they did that with a lot of stuff, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think WandaVision, that one is that one finished?
WandaVision was done. Yeah, WandaVision was done. I think they're just waiting.
It still delayed it. It's still delayed.
I think just post-production and kind of waiting to like keep it up with everything. They're just holding off, but at least with filming, they got done with filming.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
What the heck is that sound? Oh, it's the phone. Of course the phone has to ring right as we're recording this podcast. That's really funny. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Well, honestly, my only final thought is I feel like, and I feel you probably feel this way too, I'm Darcy AF. Like, I'm
absolutely.
just here with a taser gun, just waiting for a motherfucker to start some shit. And they did her the dirtiest. Like, they took her fucking iPod. Like, why?
She had put 30 songs on that thing. She just put 30 songs.
Just put 30 new songs on there, and they took it. Like, there's no need. That was unnecessary. I was kind of disappointed in Coulson for that. My only other thought is, other than that, I just felt like a lot of the movie just gave me Disney vibes, like Disney princess vibes. Like, there's a lot of like Lion King stuff that you could take from it. Literally every other scene, I feel like we were like, oh, that's like Little Mermaid. Like, oh, that's like Sleeping Beauty. Oh, like, like, I don't. It was just an amalgamation of just like all this other stuff, and I think it was just you got very distracted. I feel like I got very distracted watching this. So, was it the best Marvel movie? No. Was it the worst Marvel movie? Maybe.
No, I still stand by Hulk was the worst.
No, Hulk was awful. Hulk was disgusting.
Hulk was awful. This was like, oh, when we were watching it, I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as Hulk. Hulk was way worse.
I feel like there's one more movie that I hate more than this, but I don't want to talk about it until it comes. Oh. I don't want to get people upset at me weeks before we even watch it.
Weeks before we even watch it. Yeah, that's true. And
so I'll just save it for then. In that moment, then I'll accept my fate.
Remember?
No, most definitely. If like, I mean, I know we haven't talked a lot about Marvel, but to the people that know me and we've had multiple conversations about the MCU, they already know what movie it is, and I bet all of them are laughing right now. Like, James, you about to open up a can of worms?
I think you told me I think you told me, and this I think was when we first started the concept of this podcast.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
Okay, I was going to say, don't say it, though.
I was like, I can't remember. So maybe off air you tell me, and then I'll be like, oh, that
I'll tell you after
episode.
this. After we stop recording, we'll talk.
All right, off the air. For sure. I'm down. Yeah, I don't have any. You said it all. I think I said it with the anti-hero stuff that was really my final thoughts. Yeah, I do agree. They shouldn't have taken Darcy's iPod. She put 30 new songs on that thing. You know, and that was probably when the iPod was the iPod Classic, that thick brick. So those were they're still expensive now, but those things were like...
Wait, let's see. It was
like a Nokia phone.
It was like 2009, 2010. I feel like the Nano would have been out by now, or like something like...
Or if it was the Touch, but still the Classic, that was built like a Nokia phone. That thing was indestructible. That's like a brick. So
Homie was sturdy.
Yeah, and you know, you could watch videos on that thing. So if she had some videos on there, man, they did her dirty. They did her dirty, and they did Thor dirty with his eyebrows. Because man, oh man, they were awful.
They were awful.
But yeah, what a great way to wrap up this episode. Next week is Avengers. We've made it to the first team up. We're gonna see them all together.
Yes.
I'm excited. And yeah, that's it for this episode. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.